Hi, in this podcast, we will learn the application of continuous positive airway pressure to a newborn. The objectives of this presentation are to understand the essentials of continuous positive airway pressure, that is CPAP, how do we initiate and how do we maintain a baby on bubble CPAP, when to wean and how do we wean it, from CPAP to hood oxygen, what are the considerations and evaluation of failure of a baby from CPAP, and to look at some of the troubleshoots for a baby on bubble CPAP. Coming to the essentials of continuous positive airway pressure, when we say a baby is on bubble CPAP, we mean the baby is getting oxygen and pressure with a warm and humidified gas. These gases are air-oxygen mixtures. Oxygen which we give is given as fractional inspired oxygen concentration in the range of 21 to 60%, and the pressure is delivered to maintain functional residual capacity, and the pressure ranges are between 4 to 7 centimeters of water. Gases are delivered at temperature of 37 degrees Celsius with a relative humidity of 100% when they reach the nares of the baby. CPAP is given for babies who have spontaneous breathing. In a preterm baby, we administer CPAP if the baby has respiratory distress and has a Silverman score of more than or equal to 3. However, if the preterm baby presents to us in the first few hours of life, CPAP is given even for any respiratory distress. CPAP is also given for preterm babies with recurrent apneas and preterm babies who are extubated from mechanical ventilation. CPAP is a good therapy for babies with tracheomalacia and phrenic nerve palsy, as this would maintain the airways and also stabilize the chest wall. In a term newborn, CPAP is indicated when they have respiratory distress with a Silverman score of more than or equal to 5. It is also delivered to a baby who is extubated from mechanical ventilation. This would decrease the number of extubation failures. However, CPAP is not administered to babies with poor respiratory efforts, such as those with severe asphyxia. CPAP cannot be given to babies with congenital diaphragmatic hernia, as the gas which enters the stomach could impair the lung expansion and cause more problems when you start CPAP for a baby on CDH. CPAP is also cannot be administered to babies with tracheal fistula, choanal atresia and cleft palate, as achieving a seal to deliver pressure would be not possible in these conditions. CPAP may not be successful in babies with cardiovascular instability, meaning those with shock requiring significant inotropic support. Now, when we decide to give CPAP for a baby, the baby needs to be connected to a pulse oximeter, fix the appropriate size cap for the baby, ensure that the cap is covering the ears of the baby, and then choose an appropriate interface. An interface could be a Fisher and Paykel interface, an Hudson prongs or an Inca prongs, or it can be an Argel prongs. Once you fix the cap and fix the interface, connect the interface to the circuit. Check the leaks in the circuit, which are predominantly at the level of humidifier and at the level of fixing from circuit to interface. Here you can see two babies on different CPAP interfaces. In the first one, we can see a baby on Fisher and Paykel interface with nasal tubing, prongs and connected to the circuit. In the second one, we can see a baby on Hudson prongs. Once a baby is connected to CPAP, ensure that an orogastric tube is inserted into the stomach and the tip of the orogastric tube is open to atmosphere. Also ensure that this tip is above the level of the stomach. This will help in venting out of air which goes into the stomach and prevent CPAP belly. If a baby feeds on CPAP, close after giving the feeds, close this tube for about 15-20 minutes and then open it to the atmosphere. Now once a baby is connected to CPAP, we follow a rule of 5 if we are giving CPAP for a baby with respiratory distress. And this rule includes a pressure of 5 centimeters, a FiO2 of 50% and a flow of 5 liters per minute. However, if a baby is started on CPAP for apneas, we give a pressure of 4 centimeters, a FiO2 ranging from 21 to 25% to maintain saturations and flow as minimal to cause bubbling in the bubble chamber. When a baby is extubated from mechanical ventilation, the minimal pressure we give is 5 centimeters and the FiO2 we give would be that from which you have removed the baby from mechanical ventilation. Once you start the baby on CPAP, subsequently the flow is titrated to get minimal bubbles in the bubble chamber in a bubble CPAP. For giving a pressure of 4 centimeters to 7 centimeters, the average flow requirements varies from 2 to 7 liters per minute. If the flow requirement is more than 7 liters, check for leaks in the circuit. For a baby started on CPAP on ventilator, usually the flow rates would vary from 6 to 8 liters of water. The second thing is to titrate the FiO2. For babies on CPAP, the range of FiO2 which we can deliver are from 21 to 60%. You can titrate the FiO2 to ensure the saturations between 90 to 94%. If the saturations are more than 94%, you would reduce the FiO2, and if the saturations are less than 90%, you would increase the FiO2. Now pressure is given to obtain functional residual capacity, and if a baby has adequate functional residual capacity, the retractions would be minimal, and on the chest X-ray one would see 6 to 8 spaces, and the saturations will be the normal range of 90 to 94%. If a baby has increased retractions and the lung inflation is decreased on the chest X-ray, one would increase the CPAP pressure, and if there are no retractions, lung inflation is adequate, meaning 8 or more spaces, and SpO2 in the normal range, then one would decrease the pressures. After baby is put on CPAP, subsequent changes of pressure and FiO2 are to be done understanding the principles of proportionality. For a baby who is on CPAP for respiratory distress, the pressure and oxygen requirement go hand in hand. For most practical purposes, for a baby on CPAP of pressure of 5 centimeters, the required oxygen would vary around 50%. If the pressure requirement is 6 centimeters of water, the FiO2 requirement may be a maximum of 60%, and for those on 7 centimeters, the FiO2 requirement could be 70% or more than 70%. However, if a baby could be maintained on a CPAP pressure of 4 centimeters, the FiO2 requirement would usually be around 25 to 40%. If there is a discrepancy between the pressure requirement and the oxygen requirement, one should look for diseases beyond the lungs such as pulmonary hypertension, heart disease, metabolic acidosis, and so on. A pressure of 4 is usually not given for a baby on CPAP. For most practical purposes, we would choose pressures varying from 4 to 7 centimeters, as this would achieve the functional residual capacity in most babies with lung disease. A pressure of more than 7 is usually not given, as this would increase the risk of having a pneumothorax or other air leaks. Always ensure that whenever you are giving CPAP for a baby, warming and humidification should be appropriate. The temperature of the inspired gases should be at 37 degrees and the relative humidity should be 100% when the gases are entering the baby's nose. This could be achieved or could be identified if there is no condensation in the inspiratory limb and there is some condensation in the expiratory limb. This means the gas is delivered at relative humidity of 100%, provided the gas temperature is 37 as depicted on the humidifier. Here we can see the gas temperature coming from the humidifier is at 37 degrees Celsius and it is getting warmed in the inspiratory limb with a heater wire. The blue circuit with a heater wire is the inspiratory limb. The gases are warmed from 37 to 39 degrees and beyond that blue limb, the gas is getting cooled to 37 degrees before it reaches the nares. You will not be seeing any condensation in the blue circuit part of the respiratory circuit. However, in the expiratory limb, the gas temperature would come down to room temperature and then one could see condensation in the expiratory limb. This excess water trickles into the bubble chamber. All babies on bubble CPAP or any CPAP should be monitored rigorously, and this monitoring should include clinical monitoring, monitoring of the interface and monitoring of the equipment. The clinical monitoring would include monitoring of vitals such as respiratory rate, heart rate, retractions, Silverman score, capillary refill time, and also the pressure being delivered, the SpO2s of the babies, how much FiO2 is delivered, and also we need to monitor the blood gases, urine output and gastric aspirates. As far as the monitoring of interface is concerned, ensure that the prongs are fitting snugly into the nose and the prongs are not touching the columella. And for the interface, ensure that the water in the bubble chamber is adequate and up to the level, while the water in the humidifier chamber is always present. Chest X-ray is usually not required for babies as a routine for babies on CPAP. However, chest X-ray is indicated after you start the baby on CPAP. So maybe 20 to 30 minutes after starting the baby on CPAP, we should get an X-ray to see for lung inflation. On the left, you can see a lung which is low volume. On the right, you can see a lung which is hyperinflated. If the lung volumes are low and if the saturations or oxygenation is poor, one needs to increase the CPAP pressure, and if the lung volumes are increased and saturation is good, one can decrease the CPAP pressures. Increased lung volumes or decreased lung volumes both would lead to increased pulmonary vascular resistance and thereby cause hypoxia. If a baby is on CPAP, we consider the baby to be adequately supported with CPAP if the baby is comfortable, not fighting with the CPAP machine or the circuit. There are minimal or no retractions, there is no grunting, the capillary refill time is normal, that is less than 3 seconds, blood pressures are in the normal range, saturations are between 90 to 94% and blood gases are normal. Bubbling in the bubble chamber would indicate that the pressure which you want is achieved in the circuit, and bubbling sounds heard in the chest, in the axilla would indicate that the pressures have actually reached the lung. Now, if a baby is well supported and adequately supported on CPAP, when do we wean him and how do we wean him? If a baby is on a CPAP pressure of 7 and FiO2 of 70%, then one would decrease the FiO2 first and then come down the pressure. So, if on a pressure of 7 with FiO2 70%, baby has mild or no retractions, saturations are between 90 to 94% and lung inflation is adequate on the X-ray, one would decrease the FiO2 from 70 to 65%. If this baby is still adequately covered, supported, you could decrease FiO2 from 65 to 60%. Then you would come down on the pressure from 7 to 6. Even on 6 pressure and FiO2 60%, if the baby continues to be doing well, then you would decrease FiO2 from 60 to 55% and then to 50% before coming down the pressure from 6 to 5. So, for every 1 centimeter decrease in pressure, one would aim a decrease in FiO2 by 10%. So, when a baby comes to a pressure of 5 centimeters and FiO2 of 50%, subsequent reduction in pressure from 5 to 4 centimeters is done only when the FiO2 can be brought down to less than 30%, and from 50 to 30% the FiO2 should be reduced gradually in steps of 5%. When a baby is on pressure of 4 centimeters and the disease process for which we have started CPAP is resolved, one can think of, and the baby is comfortable, meaning is not fighting the ventilator, there are no retractions, there is no grunting, air entry is good, bubbling is adequate, and the saturations are between 90 to 94%, blood gases are normal, one can remove the baby from CPAP to hood oxygen or to room air. Once a baby is removed from CPAP, ensure that gentle suction is done of the nose and the mouth as frequently as possible. Frequently change the posture of the baby and watch the baby for at least 6 to 8 hours after removing from CPAP for apneas, increasing work of breathing as suggested by increasing respiratory rate, retractions, and maybe bradycardia. Bradycardia could occur if there are a lot of secretions in the throat. When do we consider a baby is failed CPAP? We consider a baby to be failing CPAP if he has increased work of breathing as suggested by continuing retractions, grunting, recurrent apneas, saturation less than 90% or PaO2 less than 50 mm of mercury on a maximum pressure of 7 and FiO2 more than 60 or 70%. A baby is also considered to be a failed CPAP if his PCO2s are more than 55 mm of mercury and the respiratory efforts are poor. We need to consider failure also if the baby is fighting the ventilator or not tolerating CPAP and continues to desaturate and increase work of breathing. If a baby fails CPAP, one can look for starting the baby on non-invasive mechanical ventilation, that is nasal IMV, or intubate the baby and start the baby on mechanical ventilation. Before considering baby as failed CPAP, one should look carefully for the interface, leaks in the circuit, functioning of the blender, functioning of the humidifier. This would be more the reasons for failure rather than primary problem in the baby. However, problems in the baby such as increasing respiratory illness, cardiovascular instability, and sometimes neurological problems like IVH could lead to failure of CPAP. Now coming to some of the troubleshoots when a baby is on bubble CPAP, it needs a systematic evaluation to understand the cause of difficulty or the cause of troubleshoot. Systematic evaluation would include looking at the saturations, looking at chest retractions, auscultating for air entry, and looking for bubbling in the bubble chamber. If a baby has low saturations, mild to moderate retractions, air entry is poor and bubbling is there in the bubble chamber, which means the baby has the pressures are achieved in the circuit, but the lung is not able to expand to its ideal FRC, reflected at low saturations and increasing retractions. This would occur if there is a lung disease or worsening lung disease. It can also occur if there is a block in the interface or block in the baby's nose. If the saturations are low but retractions are minimal or nil, if the air entry is good and if there is bubbling in the bubble chamber, this means we are able to deliver the pressures to the lung, the FRC is adequate but the saturations are low. This occurs if the baby has a heart disease like cyanotic congenital heart disease or a PPHN, or it could be causable that the blender is not functioning well. If the saturations are normal, retractions appears to be increased, air entry is good and bubbling is there in the bubble chamber, this means it is not a lung disease and this could be a case of metabolic acidosis. Here these are pseudo retractions and not related to low FRC. As discussed in the first scenario, if the saturations are low, retractions are moderate or severe, air entry is poor and bubbling is there, it could be either the obstruction of the interface or of the nose, or it could be a worsening lung disease. Differentiation of these two can be done by doing a gentle nasal suction. Lastly, if the saturations are low, if the retractions have increased or if the retractions are increased, air entry is poor, and if there is no bubbling, it usually means there is a leak either in the circuit or at the level of interface. So to conclude, the essentials of application of CPAP to a newborn include delivering pressure to open the lungs and maintaining the lungs at FRC, giving oxygen as fractional inspired oxygen varying from 21 to 60%, and warming and humidify the gases which goes into the baby's nose. We follow a rule of 5 for initiating a baby on bubble CPAP. The titration of CPAP is usually done looking at the retractions and looking at the lung inflation in the X-ray. Titration of FiO2 can be done by looking at the saturations and maintaining the saturations between 90 to 94%. Flow is titrated to obtain minimal bubbling in the bubble chamber, which should be continuous and which should be present both during inspiration and expiration of the baby. If a baby is on CPAP for lung disease, ensure there is proportionality of pressure and FiO2 requirement. Whenever there is failure or if there is a troubleshoot, do a systematic evaluation to understand the cause and to appropriately change the settings on the CPAP and to change the delivery and to give adequate CPAP for a baby. Thank you.